Eric Rudin now joins us. He's been out in the Benson area. He's busy with his campaign as candidate for the opportunity to run against the current alcoholic, carpetbagging Democrat Congresswoman. Her name is Kirkpatrick. Eric, your campaign has attracted a lot of attention from the NRCC. You're on the Young Guns list. How has this helped your campaign?
Well, I think it's brought a little bit of national prominence, with everybody being at home and not being able to do some of the grassroots activities that typically go on. We tried to focus on building a narrative that, hey, this is a very attractive campaign. This is a seat that we can end up flipping. And I think with some vulnerabilities that you alluded to with Ms. Kirkpatrick, combined with a lot of elbow grease and hard work, I think we have some real traction and made this a campaign that might be one of the top priorities in the nation to flip a seat. And
let's talk about your background a little bit. You're not just some business guy. I mean, you started digging ditches, if I'm remembering.
Yep.
Unbelievable. I mean, you have yours is the American success story, isn't it? I mean, starting from scratch,
absolutely.
Running a company and then, buying another company and employing hundreds of people. Wow.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a kind of a rough start. I started out on my own at the age of 17, and like most people without direction, you start doing restaurant work. But after a few years, I caught a break answering a newspaper ad for $6 an hour doing pest control work. And one of my first pest control jobs is what we call final grades. And we basically dig a trench around the house and fill it with termiticide. And you got to do 12 of those houses a day, and it's pretty rough work. But I was very fortunate, and I moved from a technician to a supervisor and did well as a supervisor, setting some growth. And then I became a manager and sales manager, eventually vice president of a company employing more than 100 people. And I feel like I was a good contributor, taking a company that had 20-something employees to having 100 employees. And then, about 13 years ago, I had the opportunity to buy my own firm, my own company, did well there, despite a big recession, which was pretty scary. And I also have a second business called The Hitting Factory, which is an indoor baseball, softball facility for kids. My daughter played ball, and I thought it did wonders for her. So, I feel very fortunate to live in a country that you can change your status and your position within life. And, it's a lot of hard work, but at the same time, I'm incredibly blessed and fortunate that worked out for me.
All right, so I start every interview with candidates answering the question, what is the stated purpose of government?
That's a broad one. No,
it's pretty specific.
Usually, yeah. No, I look at it from the standpoint is to serve the people. But on the flip side of that, you look at our Constitution, it's basically to protect our rights from oppressive governments.
Bingo.
So, that's kind of where I look at things, is that I want to make sure that we're able to have the same freedoms that enabled me to do well in life, that other people can have that pursuit of happiness.
That's the right answer. Eric, if the voters send you to Congress next year, you'll face what could be the greatest economic emergency since the Great Depression. What do you think about Ann Kirkpatrick's vote to support Nancy Pelosi's very unserious stimulus bill, which was just passed yesterday evening?
That bill horrifies me. I don't even understand any part of that bill that actually makes sense as part of recovery. It's a grab bag. I mean, not only has she missed more votes than any other representative in Congress this year, but then she turns over her power to Nancy Pelosi, and doing this proxy voting. And, to go with, what they call the HEROES Act, which is anything but, is an absolute disaster and travesty. I mean, they're talking about extending these employment benefits all the way to January 1st. I mean, I just saw this thing.
It's a disincentive to work.
Oh, absolutely. And what ends up happening is people don't see the ramifications. We're reliant on, employer taxes to fund things like Social Security and Medicare and those sort of things. Well, if you're not bringing any of those revenues in, those programs don't get funded. We're looking at a solvency in 2034 Social Security. Well, at the Wharton School of Business, they just said that after this crisis, it could be as little as 2029. And the economic mess and the cleanup between the national debt, our spending, our inability to even pass a budget, let alone balance one, is absolutely incredible. It's going to be very daunting if you don't have people that really understand finances, money, budgets, working, entrepreneurship, getting businesses running. We're going to be in real big trouble in this country.
So you said a lot of things there, and I want to grab one little piece of it. The House rules were changed yesterday, or at least this past week, for proxy voting. Yeah, that's breathtaking. That's breathtaking that somebody else would be able to take another member's vote in the U.S. House. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm horrified. I mean, what is the job of the representative to do? I mean, they're supposed to represent the constituents, and then when you have a proxy vote, did that member really vote? Is that a situation that they've deferred their power? You've basically consolidated all the power within the House basically to the House majority leadership.
Right.
And it basically has no ability for a member really to fight back against their own party or at least even advocate for their community. You know, sometimes you have bills and legislation that may be bad, but you can put a little nugget in there to help your community. You can't even do that at this point because everybody else is doing the committee work, drafting the legislation, and you're just basically powerless to do anything. I couldn't believe when I heard that was even an option on the table, and they did it.
Some have said, Eric, that a better way forward would have been to pass a payroll tax holiday, which would result in a 6% effective increase in take-home pay, reduce costs to the employers, and keep workers incentivized to work. If you were in Congress, as opposed to the alcoholic person who doesn't show
carpetbagger
who doesn't show up for work very often, how might you have tried to get this payroll tax holiday in? Is that something you might support?
I could support it. It depends on the framework. Again, I'm very much a less taxes guy, but I also believe that, you know, when you do a payroll tax holiday, you know, you are shortchanging of the programs down the road. You know, we have a big retirement community here in southern Arizona, and, you know, if you start dipping into that Social Security money, that's a tough way. So I think that's a much better idea than this $15 an hour guaranteed non-working payment fee for being unemployed. It's much smarter. It makes sense. It incentivizes work and incentivizes business. The theory would be that if we can get people working and the economy going sooner, I think that would be a better way to go. It's something I could be on board with, but I also think there's many alternatives we can look at.
The alcoholic, carpetbagging, doesn't vote very much Congresswoman from CD2. She voted to approve the Pelosi plan to indiscriminately bail out insolvent Democrat states like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maryland, California, Illinois, with no requirements to reform their governmental spending and state worker giveaways. Would this have been a non-starter for you?
Oh, absolutely. Government funding other governments. I mean, just that sounds ludicrous right on the face of things. And, you know, at no point are these governments actually being held accountable for our actions, let alone even the federal representatives being accounted for their spending actions. I'm actually just dumbfounded how clueless they are when it actually comes to budgets, even on the state level. And, you know, we look at our Republicans here. You know, people can critique and they can say whatever they want, but we had nearly $1 billion surplus because we had good fiscal management for that rainy day fund. And for us to put all that hard work, make our sacrifices, make sure that we're in a good, stable budget with, you know, Republican-run government, then all of a sudden see all our money and our tax dollars handed over to California's mismanagement is just an insult to every single person.
Eric, we gotta run. Our timer's up. Thanks for joining us. You'll come back and join us again sometime soon. We offer the open mic to others running in CD2. The microphone here is always open to you and everybody else.